All right. You probably just got a pop-up that we're recording. All right. So Amy Freeman again is the business manager for all of our all student organizations. And then Erin is our graduate assistant. She does a lot of the work in 1850, Erin Steiner. And so she is a lot of the times the one communicating with you in 1850 with just questions about your events. All right. And then we're going to talk about all of these things here on the screen. So anything from event registrations, money options, how to deposit money, how to get your flyers approved. And if you've got any questions, again, feel free and stick them in the chat. You're welcome to do that. And I will do my best to talk while looking at the chat, but if not, we certainly will have time at the end to take care of all of those. So first, I want to talk a little bit about the commitment to community. You all are a huge part of our community. The student organizations are really part of the backbone of this institution in building that community feel that we all have. So we just want to make sure we're committing ourselves to learn in and through community, to commit ourselves to respect the dignity of every person, and we commit ourselves to practice solidarity in order to promote the common good. So some expectations from our office. First is to keep your organizations up to date, to make sure that those who are listed as officers in the listing on 1850 as your officers are truly your current officers and are the people that we can reach out to if we have questions. Another is to have your president and treasurer or other officers attend the meetings in the fall and spring semester. So thank you for being here. This is the fall president's meeting, and tomorrow is the fall virtual treasurers meeting. So if your treasurer did not go to the one last week in person, please make sure that they're coming to the one tomorrow at 4:30 here on Zoom. We expect you to register all of your organization events and activities for you to participate in our checkpoints throughout the year and the re-recognition process at the end of the year. Different groups use their advisors differently, but we ask that you do meet with your advisors, communicate ideas and plans for your organization. A lot of them have been at this institution a really long time, and they've got some great ideas as to how your organizations can be successful. We ask that you read and keep record of emails sent to you by the CSI staff. We ask that you update your organization officer positions each semester after you change officers. So some groups change in the fall, some in the spring. So we can't have a one date that everybody has to update by because that doesn't make sense for all organizations. And to please come visit us when you need help. We are here to help you run the best organization that you can. All right. So the Student Organization Resource Guide is on the homepage of 1850. It should be your first stop for questions. It has all of the guidelines, policies, and procedures for how to register and host and evaluate the events that you're putting on. It gives you ideas on finances and funding options. It talks about our food and alcohol policies here on campus, and just some other general policies like how to run a 5K on this campus. Some timelines for organization recognition. The spring semester checkpoint and annual re-recognition will open on May 1st and will close on May 31st. So at the end of this academic year, that's when you re-up yourselves to be an organization for the following year. It'll also talk about some accountability and standards of behavior and some different options for workshops that we can host or some other areas on campus can host for your organizations. Up next is where to find the SORG. So it's circled here in the center on the left side of your screen on the homepage of 1850. So it's always going to be there. And we just ask that you take a look there for any questions that you might have. The answer might be right there before you find a time to come in and meet.
Dropping.
It sounds like somebody's not muted. So if you could do that, we would appreciate it. All right, there's a couple changes, major changes in the SORG this year. The first is if your organization is doing anything out in the wilderness or outdoors that is not with a specific tour guide group, we are asking that multiple people from your organization have some wilderness survival first aid training. There is information in the Student Org Resource Guide on where you can do that. And hopefully be able to do that pretty easily. Next is some table hour changes. They are fully listed out in the SORG, but we're asking that if you have table hours that you're staying at your table, that you are not going out and pulling people into your table. We want to make sure that we're respecting the space of the people walking by your tables. You're certainly welcome to talk to them when they come up to your table, but we want to make sure that folks walking to class have the ability to walk to class and not be surrounded by folks from your table. Important info to highlight that really has never changed is guest speakers take a lot of time to approve. That's not just something that the student activities area can approve. That goes to a whole committee of folks around campus who need to make sure that your guest speakers that are coming from off campus are appropriate for this camp to be on this campus and to be speaking with your groups. Travel events also take a lot of time to approve. So we're asking that you once you start planning an event, you start to put it in 1850 right away. Another is events in the ballroom. As student organizations are growing in size, the number of rooms that you can fit in on this campus gets a lot smaller. So if you're planning an event in the ballroom, please book it early and make sure that you've got the right room for what for the event is that you're trying to hold. So a little bit about hazing prevention. It is the state law of Ohio that everyone on a college campus who is affiliated with any kind of organization or doing anything in a group is trained in hazing. So many of you last year went through our Hazing 101 training, online training, and that is marked. I'll show you on the next screen. It's marked that you have completed that training. It's your responsibility as an officer in an organization to make sure that everyone who's participating in your group has completed that training. So again, here on the screen are all different ways to report hazing. We want to make sure that if you see something on this campus that doesn't seem right, that you're saying something to one of these folks here on this screen. Excuse me. So to look at the membership of your group, you're going to go into your group, and on that top left corner where that big arrow is, you're going to see members. And then that will bring up the list of everyone that's a member in 1850 of your group. And you're going to look for that Hazing Prevention 101 tag under each of their names. If you don't see that tag under their name, they should not be participating in any events that your organization is putting on. And you can direct them to go do that hazing training. If they don't know how to do that, have them reach out to our office, to the student orgs at udayton.edu email account, and we can help them figure out how to get that done. But it's really important that each student organization is helping us to make sure that all students are taking care of that. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about 1850 and the Campus Groups app. The Campus Groups app is really great for checking folks into events, for pulling up QR codes and things like that. It is not good for registering events. Please try and do that on a laptop. It's so much easier for you to be able to get through all the questions, to make sure that you're answering everything clearly when you're on a laptop or a desktop computer. So this just shows you what the app looks like. I'm sure all of you have it by now. You probably got it when you were an incoming student and used it for all your orientation activities. But in case you need any help learning where it is or how to get it, you just go to the App Store and search for Campus Groups, and then you search within the University of Dayton for 1850. This is a great way to have your QR code when you can check into events. Like I said, everybody usually has their phone with them. So it's a great way to take attendance at your normal group meetings. So we really do encourage that use. So talking a bit about 1850 communication. So we're really asking that you check your emails and 1850. If there's a question about an event that you've registered, we're going to send that message through 1850 just so that there's a good tracking process of what those messages have been. And oftentimes, if you're a campus rec group or if you're one of our values-based Greek organizations, those messages can go to multiple people. So Drew in campus rec, or to Evan or Cornelius now in fraternity and sorority life. So please check all your messages, and especially in 1850 if you have been registering events recently. I also send out the weekly student leader email that goes out every Tuesday afternoon or evening, occasionally Wednesday morning when it didn't happen on Tuesday night. But that's a great way to get information for you to share with your group about things that are happening around campus, and sometimes into the community, different volunteer opportunities that might be there for your groups. So please make sure you're checking those. This is just an example of what that looks like over here on the left. That's an example of one of those emails, what that looks like. And then on the right is the message messages from 1850. You up in the top right corner of your 1850 page, you'll see a little notification bell, and that's how you can get to your messages. So it's pretty easy to get in and check and see if you've got any communication from anybody on our staff asking about an event that you've been registering. It's really important to keep your officer page updated. It's the best way to know that your group is receiving information that our office or other offices or SGA is sending out. Any officer of your organization can update that page. So you are welcome to have that be part of those secretary duties for your elected secretary, or maybe it's your vice president of membership. So it doesn't have to be the president. It's a great thing to delegate, is making sure that everybody is up to date and has their title listed, especially for treasurer and president. If we have a question and it's kind of urgent, we're going to reach out to the president of the organization. And if it isn't clear who that is, then perhaps I'm going to send an email to 16 people, when that might not be the easiest way to make things happen.
Hey, Glenn, I've got a quick
So
question
again,
for you.
as quickly as you can after elections, please update that as soon as possible, as people have elections throughout the year and not always at the exact same standard times.
Glenn, I've got a quick question for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Those 1850 messages, those come through our emails as well?
As long as you have the notifications set up. Yes, I know a lot of you turn off notifications, and I know I personally, I get thousands a day, so I kind of have them filtered off. But those notifications will always be in the top right corner of the homepage of 1850. But yes, if you have your notifications set up for messages to come to your email, they will also come to your email.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about financial information. This is certainly not the treasurer's meeting, but it's a really good idea for you guys to have a little bit of idea as to some different ways that you can get money and manage the money in your organization. So the most urgent deadline is SGA Fall Funding Week. So that ends on September 11th. That's this coming Monday. And that is a huge way that student organizations can get money on campus just by applying. So on their 1850 page, on the SGA 1850 page, there's a specific finance section that talks about what SGA fall funding can fund. There have been some updates to that this year. So please, before you put in your application, make sure what you're asking for is something that they're able to fund. So again, that deadline is September 11th. That's this coming Monday. They also have something called special request funding, and that is for kind of those larger events or items that you're wanting to do. But a requirement of getting that funding, there's two requirements. First is that you have to have applied either for fall funding in the fall semester or spring funding in the spring semester. And you also present to SGA just on what it is that you want to be using that money for. They'll schedule a time for you to do that, so that's not super on you, but you do have to go in and present and talk a bit about why you need those extra funds. This last thing from SGA is something that I don't know that a lot of people know about, but they do offer individual student engagement grants up to $250 a year. And that is a way that students that paying dues might be just too much for them at this time or in a year, that they can get some help in paying dues to their organization. So that deadline is also the same. It's September 11th. And all of that you do through 1850. So on the homepage of 1850 inside your group, so on the homepage of your group, that's where you can learn a little bit more about how to apply for those funds. But again, September 11th, very important date. If you have any questions, please email the sgafinance@udayton.edu. That is not run out of the student activities area here in 241. It's run out of KU 206, which is down the hall of the student leadership programs area of CSI. So while I can't answer every question about it, the SGA Finance email definitely can. So if you've got questions before that Monday deadline, make sure that you're sending them an email and finding out exactly the answers to your questions. All right, so when any financial thing is going to take place that you might not have the best knowledge of how to do, we ask that you visit the Student Organization Financial Management Tool. It is on the homepage of 1850 also. It's right next to the SORG, the Student Organization Resource Guide, and it asks you questions like, what do you want to do? Do you want to request SGA funding? Do you want to collect dues? Do you want to deposit money? And it really walks you through the process of how to do these things. So it's a great resource. That's a great place to start. You are, of course, welcome to come in and ask us questions, but my first question to you might be, did you look at the tool already? What did it tell you to do? So it's a great way to start anything new that you might not know exactly how to do. And you'll select that either off of your money page in your specific organization or off of the main page of 1850. All right. I know that raising money can be difficult for all groups, and the UD Advancement Department is offering you a crowdfunding opportunity. So there's something called Flyer Funder on campus. It's kind of like GoFundMe, but just for UD. So their deadline for application is sadly not on this page. That's not helpful. I want to say it's the 11th or the 15th of September. So if you follow this QR code here, it'll take you to learn a little bit more about it. But this is if you want to do something bigger and you think that you might be able to get some support from the Dayton community, from the Dayton alumni community. It's a great way to kind of make a showcase of what it is that you're trying to raise money for. And we've got some examples down at the bottom, some immersion programs. I know Mars Rover has been pretty successful, as has Christmas on Campus, in raising some funds for their organization that isn't just constantly asking your own members to raise their dues or to donate to different fundraisers. So that's an option there. And this flyer has been in the weekly student leader email the last couple weeks, so you've got access to that information pretty easily. So this is just a highlight of tomorrow's treasurer's training. It will be at 4:30. It's also a virtual meeting. But if you've got any questions, you're welcome to reach out to Amy Freeman at her email, which is on the screen here, or to the Student Orgs Money account, email account. So studentorgsmoney@udayton.edu. She's there to answer any questions you might have about how to collect money, how to spend money, or how to raise money. So anything having to do with money. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about event registration. So what is considered an event? It's anything that you are doing to represent your organization. If you're having table hours, if you're having an event out in the community, if you're having an event on campus, those are all things that you need to register. If you're not sure if you need to register it, start the event registration process, and if the questions make sense, then you should continue registering it. If you are having events and not registering, that is putting your organizational recognition in jeopardy. So please, please, please be registering all of your events. And just because you register it does not mean it's approved. So wait until that approval comes through in order to go ahead and have your event. So there are over 230 student organizations right now. And at the moment, there's 2 of us approving events. And when Morgan returns back to campus, there will be 3 of us approving events. So give us some time. We're pretty on it right now, but we are getting them all done. So there's so currently the main person who approves events is me. When Morgan returns, the main person that approves events will be Morgan Miller. If you ever have a question about the status of an event that you've registered, feel free and send us an email at either Student Orgs or in either of our personal emails, and we will get back to you about what it is. But I would always say go in and check the status of your event. You're able to do that if you're the one who submitted the event. All right, so this is a great thing to screenshot of how to book space on campus in all of the different areas. So the CSI office has kind of the booking area over a lot of the large spaces on campus. So all rooms in KU, the big room in VWK, the 3 or 4 meeting rooms in Adele, and most of the outdoor spaces. I highly encourage you to visit KU 241 to book your space. It's just so much faster. If something, if something's booked, you can already have your backup dates in hand as opposed to going back and forth with the reservation form on the KU website. That can just add a couple more days to your booking, and a lot of people are trying to get their things done in a pretty timely fashion. So again, visiting KU 241 at our front desk or giving us a call at that 229-3333 number is really the best way to book events that CSI manages. If you're interested in booking a space at the Recplex, you do go to their website, you go to the facilities and then reservation section of their website. If you're going to host a 5K here on campus, you do have to let the rec know that that's happening, because you're using their restroom facilities and a lot of times their lobby area. So that's often sometimes something that people miss out on doing. So make sure that if you want to use any of the rooms or studios in the Recplex, that you're filling out that form as well. If you want to use any of the studios in Art Street or the Art Street Amphitheater for an event, you're going to email that Art Street reservations at U Dayton email account. And for any classrooms, you're going to log into 25 Live. So you're going to get into 25 Live from your porches. You can just search up in the top corner 25 Live, it'll pop up. And you as a student have the ability to request space in a classroom. So some reminders, again, please don't wait until the last minute to register events. In the last couple of days, there's been a whole lot of events that are happening within the next 2 hours of when they get registered. And that's unhelpful to me. So there are people that have to look at these things and read them. So if you know that you're going to have a meeting every Tuesday for the rest of the year or the rest of the semester, go ahead and do that now, and just get it out of the way. You don't have to do it later. Like I said before, events with external speakers need more time. You need to register them almost 4 weeks in advance, just because it has to go to that separate committee. Oftentimes, if it's just a faculty member, we can do that very quickly. But if you're bringing in an external person from off campus, then that takes time to approve. If you are looking to use the RSVP feature or sign any release agreements for specific events, your event has to be approved first in order for that part of 1850 to work. So make sure you're registering those a little bit extra early. And we really encourage you to continue practicing safe and healthy decision-making behaviors at all of your events. If you are concerned that maybe some part of your event isn't going to result in positive actions by members or attendees, then let's talk about that. So we got a question: if you're planning an event with guest speakers, am I able to put the event into 1850 and input the speakers at a later time? Yes, you are, but that 3 to 4 week review process for the speakers won't start until you put who those speakers are into 1850. So you could certainly put the event in, but if you don't know who's coming yet, you still need to have a buffer of time for that to happen. So thanks for that question. All right, a little bit about social media. So we don't own your social media accounts. You do as an organization, but we want you to make sure that the things that you're posting and the content and the comments on your page align with the values of both your organization and the University of Dayton. Organizations that are using social media in ways that are inconsistent with university policy may face sanctions or not be able to be a recognized organization within the future. There's a really nice statement in the student organization resource guide that you can put in your bio of your Instagram page that just says that these are not the views of the University of Dayton, and there are the views of your student organization. So we would encourage you to put that in the bio. It's word for word in the student org resource guide that you can just copy and paste that into the bio. A little bit about travel. All travel off campus needs to be registered, even if you're going, I don't know, somewhere on Brown Street as a group. What you don't need to do is say that a takeover is travel. If you are doing a takeover at Chipotle, that is not travel. That's a fundraising, that you can mark that as fundraising, but don't mark it as travel, because you as a group are not traveling to go to Chipotle, right? You as individuals at different times throughout that 4-hour time period are traveling. So again, if you're doing a takeover, that's not travel, but anything else that you're doing off campus, you need to be registering that as a travel event, and all students need to be RSVPing to that event. So if something were to happen, we would know who was with you. All drivers of any transportation that a group is using need to have a valid driver's license and insurance. And all drivers must be a certified driver by the university, even if you're driving your own personal vehicle. And there's been a lot of confusion about this lately. I would just recommend that at your next group or chapter meeting, you all sit down and you do the driver's test together, each on your own computers, right? It really doesn't take that long, and then you don't have to worry about it for the whole rest of the year. You're good for a year. But if you are driving your car on behalf of a university group going to a university event, we need to make sure that everybody is certified by the university. If you want to rent one of the vans that we have on campus, or a few other, I think there's a couple cars now. Sandra Harris in procurement is the person that you can ask questions of, and that her phone number is here on the screen. But you can book those on 25 Live without actually talking to Sandra. But if you've got questions, she's the person to ask. All right. So this is just a little bit on risk management. There are over 12,000 students at this campus. You're having over 4,000 events. There's over 230 student organizations. So it's a numbers game, right? So we need to make sure that everyone is managing the risk of their events and their groups and everything that they're doing to make sure that everyone is having the best experiences possible. So if you fill out an event that says you're traveling or you're doing anything risky, these are the 5 types of risk that we're going to ask you to talk and think a little bit about as you're planning your events. Can someone get hurt either physically or emotionally by your event? Could your group, your individual, or the university's reputation be hurt in any way? Could a facility be hurt? Could the ground be dug out on KU Field, the Central Mall? Or could this cost your organization or individuals of your organization money? These are things to think about as you are planning events, and it's things that we're going to ask you to reflect on in that risk management form that's a part of the event registration process. All right, here is all of our contact information that hopefully you will use. If you want to reach out to any of us at any time, if you have questions, you are more than welcome to do so. So yeah, I'll give you a second to take a look at that. I think. All right, here's the benefit of coming to my presence meeting. It was half an hour long. So if you can check in using the QR code on your screen, that would be awesome. Then we'll know that your organization was here. If anyone has any questions, I will certainly hang out. You can either type them into the chat or unmute yourself and ask them.
Gwen, can I say something just real quick about some service stuff?
Sorry. Yes. I didn't see you pop up, Megan.
That's okay. All good.
Yeah. So Megan Crowley is here from the Center for Social Concern, and she's going to talk a little bit about service.
Awesome. So first of all, I just put the names of all of our service and social action student orgs in the chat, along with just like a little link to a Google form that if you guys could fill that out real quick. I'm going to be sending some more information about our first service and social action President's Club meeting here in a little bit. But basically for all the rest of you, the university is tracking this year all of our service, social action, and community engagement opportunities on campus. So it's going to be extra important that you all register anything that counts as service in 1850 as service. So some of those things might be guest speakers from nonprofit organizations or a local organization in the city. And these are organizations that are like working towards the common good. So these are organizations that are centered on like social justice or meeting needs in the community. So guest speakers from those types of organizations could count as service. Hosting a drive to collect items, different philanthropy events, as well as short-term volunteerism or activism. So maybe it's like a one-time opportunity that your organization is going to volunteer. That counts as service. I think that's pretty clear. And then anytime you're working more in depth in partnership with organizations over an expanded period of time, that definitely counts as community engagement or as service. So in 1850, all you need to do is make sure when you're registering the type of event, just make sure you select service, and then it'll pop up a few questions that'll help us identify what type of service you're doing. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have. So please just make sure you're logging any events that are service related as service on 1850. And that would greatly help us out. And yeah, once again, if you're a president of one of those organizations that's in the chat, please fill out that Google form as well. That would be great. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you, Megan. Also, if your group is looking for an organization to do service with, Megan can be a great resource. She's got a lot of community relationships built. And so if you're looking for something more than your group participating in a service Saturday or something, you can reach out to her, and she can help you kind of figure out where a good need is for you.
Definitely. Yeah. And I would love to chat with you also just to make sure we're not like one community partner doesn't have like 16 asks for the same day. So yeah, I'm so happy to help you like make contact and organize different service opportunities for your orgs. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me with any of those kinds of requests. Definitely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan. All right, friends, go ahead and scan your QR code. You are good to go if you don't have any questions. I'll probably take it down here in just a minute. But again, if you want to unmute or if you want to type in the chat, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. I will also stop recording.